Yeah, I think the only other thing I would say is in terms of the future, where do you where do you see the LIGO project going? Because I know, for
Yeah.
example, with CERN, they're potentially going to make a bigger collider, and a
Yeah,
few
well,
other places are like,
absolutely. So all of those plans are in place. Firstly, it's important to stress this, it isn't just LIGO. There
yeah,
is already operating, well, not at the moment, but over recent months, there has been another detector in Italy called Virgo.
I've heard
Um,
of this. Okay,
Absolutely. So again, that will be clear in what I send you, and just where they fit into the story. And there are two LIGO detectors, and there's also now the Virgo one. There's one under construction in India called LIGO India, and there's another detector in Japan called Kagra. And in fact, that Japanese one, it's not quite fully operational, but it will be quite soon. And it's in the Kamiokande mine where the neutrino experiment is.
okay,
So it's another example of where there's a big crossover in terms of the people and the technical expertise and all of that
yeah,
between the particle physics world and the neutrinos world, and then now into gravitational waves. But you might well ask, well, why do you need 4 or 5? And it's because the more detectors you have,
yeah.
the better you can pinpoint where the gravitational waves came from in the sky.
I see.
So the big leap forward in the next few years is not, yeah, sure, we'll detect more sources, but what we'll also do is be able to characterize them better, because we'll know where they came from, how far away they are, more precisely, and all of that will help, we hope, to maybe work out, to go back to something we discussed before. Is it really the case that black holes don't give off any light when they collide, or could there be maybe a light signal associated with that as well as the gravitational waves? It's been really hard to answer that question up until now, because we've not been able to tell, optical astronomers precisely where to look in the sky.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's going to change. So really the future is all about, in some sense, more of the same.
Yeah.
But instead of just observing a handful of these events, it's going to be like, 50, 100, 1,000. By the end of this decade, we will have probably detected several thousand black hole collisions.
Wow, awesome.
And that's a crucial step towards working out sort of what's really going on. Astronomy is always like this.
Yeah.
To some extent, particle physics is as well. But astronomy, even more than particle physics, is about describing populations of objects.
Of course, yeah.
Like whether it be extrasolar planets or stars or galaxies, they're all a bit different, and you start to get the big picture only when you see a population of them,
exactly,
and how they're all different.
Amazing.
So that's where we're headed. That's kind of basically the next 5 to 10 years, is going from a series of interesting individual events to starting to glimpse that underlying population.
I don't know. We've got like 1 or 2 minutes, I guess. But just for now to round off, what do you think about science communication when it comes to? What are your challenges when it comes to you explaining this to other people who don't?
Sure.
And what? Yeah, just like a brief kind of.
Yeah.
Obviously, this anti-science stuff is quite a big thing at the moment. Where do you sit on that? Just a personal thing, yeah.
Well, no. I mean, that's a great question. I mean, we'll pick that up another time, maybe, because it's a good question. I've been passionate about this for a long time. Again, not that it's any particular big deal, but I think my engagement with STFC, I'm very glad that STFC are so supportive of science communication. That's benefited you in terms of this project getting funded, but it's also benefited me throughout my career, much more so than some of the other research councils. They're really committed to trying to do this as well as we can.
Yeah.
And a large part of that is not just, to use the kind of cliched phrase, preaching to the converted, not just going and talking to high school physics students.
Yeah, of course.
It's not that that's a bad idea, but kind of they're into science already.
Exactly.
What you've got to do is try and communicate with the rest of society, where those, anti-science views are sadly very common. So we've tried to do that in our LIGO communications. It's of course not easy because, you know, everybody kind of loves black holes, but they do see them as quite, oh, well, that's for clever people to find out about. But we've never shied away from trying to present what we've done to a very general audience. You know, we're just as likely to try and go to a music festival or an arts festival as to a, you know, a science centre or a science festival. So if we talk again, you know, I'll give you specific examples of all of that.
Let's try to do that.
But I do think, you know, if in working with you on this, if we can help to get that message out to that broader audience, that's absolutely where I'm coming from on this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is going to hopefully slot into schools, but also the general public. I'm working with some big artists who are nothing to do with science at all, and have a massive reach and stuff. So it as long as I finish it, just like with the last one, that's what I used to say to people. As long as I finish it, you know, that's the main thing. And I think this was the last topic interview that I needed to do.